Okay, today we're going to look at more two-dimensional figures. So we started with triangles, now we're going to look beyond. A general term for a lot of different two-dimensional figures is a polygon. And a polygon has a couple different definitions. One definition is any closed plane figure. In other words, it's all on one plane, consisting of line segments. Remember, that comes from the very first lesson where we talked about a segment have a beginning and an ending. In other words, these become the sides of your polygon, connected such that no two lines, no two segments cross each other. Here's a shorter, but another really good one, a closed plane figure. So it starts the same way, bounded by straight line segments. And then I made a note, no curved lines. In other words, what does this mean? Well, it has to be closed. So I can go like this, and that would be a polygon. But if I went like this, I have crosses in there, so that is not a polygon. Not a polygon. Or I could have something like this, and because I have a curved line, this one is not a polygon. Okay? This one is. Even though it's a weird shape, it would still be considered a polygon. The smallest polygon requires 3 sides. And any 3-sided figure would be known as a triangle. See, if I have 2 sides, I can't make it closed. It will always be open. But the minute I put that 3rd side on, I now have a triangle. And a 3-sided polygon is called a triangle. Tri means 3. Always remember that. The minute I put 4 sides on, I now have 4 sides, and 4 sides are called quadrilaterals. And quadrilaterals have 4 sides. Now we're going to go into a lot more depth into quadrilaterals in a minute. Okay, a 5-sided figure, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? This is called a pentagon, and it is a 5-sided figure. Okay, let's look at a few more names for these multi-sided figures. A figure with 6 sides has the name of a hexagon. 7 sides is called a heptagon. 8 sides is an octagon. Think of an octopus, has 8 legs, octagon. 9 sides, the name is very similar to the number 9, it's called a nonagon. And 10 sides is a decagon. Deca is the word 10 in Latin, so decagon. And there's many others, but these are the most common. Another one that is in real common use today is 12 sides, and this one is called a dodecagon. And many of you may have actually heard these names before. Now, these figures can either be regular or not. If they are regular, it means that all the sides are the same size, the same length. So a triangle with all of the sides the same is an equilateral triangle. A quadrilateral with all the sides the same, we have several different names that it can go by. A regular, and all the others we would just say regular quadrilateral, regular triangle, regular pentagon, regular hexagon, regular octagon, and so on. And when we say regular, it tells you that the sides are all the same size. Okay, so now let's look at quadrilaterals. All 4-sided figures are called quadrilaterals. It's our general term for all 4-sided figures. But we have a lot of other names for 4-sided figures because we have different things that determine what gives them the names that they have. One of the things that will give the name is same length sides. That's a determining factor in naming a quadrilateral. What's another determining factor? Parallel sides. In other words, like railroad tracks, opposite sides would be parallel. And another determining factor is 90-degree angles. Okay, keeping that in mind, let's look at some names we have for these. Let's start first with the rectangle. What makes a rectangle a rectangle? Well, what are some of the characteristics? It has 4 90-degree angles. What's another characteristic it has? 2 pairs of parallel sides. So in other words, a rectangle here's your 4 90-degree angles, 1 pair of parallel sides, the second pair of parallel sides. So you have 2 pairs of parallel sides. And the last one is opposite sides are congruent. Hear that word congruent? It keeps coming back, doesn't it? In other words, this side is equal to this side is equal to this side. Those are the distinguishing aspects of a rectangle. Okay, so now let's look at another one that we have. How about the word square? Square is actually a special kind of a rectangle. Okay, so it's in the same category, but rectangle doesn't have all sides the same, but a square does. So a square, again, has 4 90-degree angles, just like a rectangle does. It has 2 pairs of parallel sides, and the last one is all sides are congruent, which makes opposite sides the same length. Therefore, a square is a special kind of a rectangle. Okay, 90-degree angles. All sides are the same length. Therefore, opposite sides are also the same length, and it has 2 pairs of parallel sides, just like that. Okay, now let's look at another one. Parallelograms. Okay, again, parallelograms can be a specialized rectangle, but not necessarily. A rectangle and a square are specialized parallelograms. So what makes a parallelogram distinct? It has 2 pairs of parallel sides, in other words, opposite sides will be parallel, otherwise they would intersect. And opposite sides have the same length. Or opposite sides are congruent. That's better, easier way to say it. Are congruent. Okay, a parallelogram. Here's one set of parallel lines. Here's another set of parallel lines. We did that something not quite parallel. Almost, that's better. Okay, you see those sets of parallel lines there? This is parallel to this one is parallel to this one. Therefore, they have 1 pair, 2 pairs of parallel lines, and opposite sides are congruent. Now those are actually, looks like all of them are congruent, but anyway, that's what a parallelogram is. A rhombus is a special kind of a parallelogram, but a square could also be a rhombus, okay? So you see how these things all interconnect. Okay, these are parallelograms. Which means they have 2 pairs of parallel sides and opposite sides are congruent, but the difference is are parallelograms with all sides congruent. Okay. In other words, it is a parallelogram with all the sides congruent. That's what a rhombus is. Okay, a trapezoid. And a trapezoid is not a parallelogram. It is not a rectangle. It is not a square or a rhombus. A trapezoid has 1 pair of parallel sides and that is its distinguishing factor. 1 pair of parallel sides. There's one side, here's another side. These are parallel to each other. And the other 2 sides can be just about anything. Okay? So these are the parallel sides. And that's its distinguishing factor. One more we're going to go into, it's called a kite. What do kites have? Kites have two pairs of adjacent sides congruent. That's one of its factors. The other factor is one pair of opposite angles are congruent. And another interesting thing about kites is the product of the two diagonals. Did I write that down? No, I didn't. Oh well. I won't put that in then. There's something about the product of the two diagonals, but we won't put that in. Okay, so a kite. What does a kite look like? Well, a kite has two pairs of sides. That's one pair of adjacent sides, which are the same, are congruent. And then another pair of adjacent sides which are congruent. And you've got two diagonals. This angle is congruent to this angle. These are not, but these are. Okay? So that's the distinguishing feature of a kite. Is two pairs of adjacent sides are congruent because these are adjacent and these are adjacent, and opposite angles that are also congruent. So there's the naming of all these things, okay? Now, let's look and see. We'll stop that one and we'll start another one.